Hello students, today we are going through the esophagus into the stomach and then into the small intestine and large intestine where we will be absorbed through the bloodstream and into the kidneys. To begin, we're going to learn a little bit about the excretory system. Excretion is the process of eliminating or expelling waste matter. Sweat glands in the skin create a fluid waste called sweat or perspiration. However, its primary functions are temperature control and pheromone release. Therefore, its role as a part of the excretory system is minimal. Sweating also maintains the level of salt in the body. Sweat is called urea, and urea is a chemical that comes from the breakdown of proteins in your liver. The urinary bladder is the organ that collects urine excreted by the kidneys prior to disposal by urination. It is a hollow, muscular, and elastic organ and sits on the pelvic floor. Urine enters the bladder via the ureters and exits via the urethra. The lungs move carbon dioxide that was built up in the blood by using the alveoli, which eventually travels through the bloodstream into the kidneys.
Now we will discuss the functions and structures of the kidney. The main functions of the kidney include excretion of waste in the form of urine, water level balancing, blood pressure regulation, red blood cell regulation, and acid regulation. In the digestive system, food is broken down into smaller parts, which is used for energy for the body. The parts of the food that are not used for the body are considered metabolic waste and enter into the blood stream through the circulatory system. The circulatory system brings the blood to the kidney, where the metabolic waste in the blood is excreted in the form of urine and exits the kidney out through the ureter and enters into the bladder, which serves as a storage unit. The urine exits the bladder, goes through the urethra, and exits the body. The following are the main parts of the kidney. First, we have the renal hilus. The renal hilus is an indentation near the center of the concave area of the kidney. This is the area of the kidney through which the ureter leaves the kidney and the other structures including blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, and nerves enter or leave the kidney. Next, we have the renal capsule. The renal capsule is a smooth, transparent, fibrous membrane that surrounds, encloses, and protects the kidney. Each kidney has its own renal capsule, which helps to maintain the shape of the kidney as well as protecting it from damage. The renal capsule is itself surrounded by a mass of fatty tissue that also helps to protect the kidney from damage by cushioning it in cases of impact or sudden movement. Next, we have the renal cortex. The renal cortex is the outer part of the kidney and has a reddish color. It also has a smooth texture and is the location of the Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus, in addition to the proximal and distal convoluted tubules and their associated blood supplies. Next, we have the renal medulla. The renal medulla is the inner part of the kidney. Medulla means inner portion. This area is a striated red-brown color. Next, we have the renal pyramids. There are approximately 5 to 18 striated triangular structures called renal pyramids within the renal medulla of each kidney. The appearance of striation is due to the many straight tubules and blood vessels within the renal pyramids. Next, we have the renal pelvis. The renal pelvis is the funnel-shaped basin that receives the urine drained from the kidney nephrons via the collecting ducts and then the papillary ducts. Next, we have the renal artery. The renal artery delivers oxygenated blood to the kidney. This main artery divides into many smaller branches as it enters the kidney via the renal hilus. These smaller arteries divide into vessels such as the segmental artery, the interlobar artery, the arcuate artery, and the and the interlobar artery. These eventually separate into afferent arterioles, one of which serves each nephrons in the kidney. Next, we have the renal vein. The renal vein receives deoxygenated blood from the peritubular veins and within the kidney. These merge into the interlobar, arcuate, interlobar, and segmental veins, which in turn deliver deoxygenated blood in the renal vein, through which it is returned to the circulatory system. Next, we have the interlobar artery, which we mentioned earlier. The interlobar artery delivers oxygenated blood at high pressure to the glomerular capillaries. Next, we have the interlobar vein. The interlobar vein receives deoxygenated blood that it drains away from the glomerular filtration units and from the loops of Henle, and this happens at lower pressure. Next, we have the kidney nephron, which we mentioned before. The kidney nephrons are the functional units of the kidneys. That is, it is the kidney nephrons that actually perform the kidney's main functions. There are approximately millions of nephrons. There are approximately a million nephrons within each kidney. We have the collecting duct. The distal convoluted tubules of many nephrons empty into a single collecting duct. Many such collecting ducts unite to drain urine extracted by the kidney into papillary ducts, then into a minor calyx, then the major calyx, and finally into the ureter, through which the urine leaves the kidney to the urinary bladder. Next, we have the ureter. The ureter is the structure through which urine exits the kidney.
A nephron. What is a nephron? A nephron is the basic structure and functional unit of the kidney that produces urine in the process of removing waste excess substances from the blood. The nephron has three main functions. The nephron regulates the concentration of water and soluble substances like sodium salt by filtering the blood, reabsorbing what is needed, and it treats the rest as urine. The first function of the nephron is filtration. The nephron filters the blood and removes excess water, wastes, and other substances. This process occurs in the glomerulus, which is found in the Bowman's capsules. Each glomeruli acts as a sieve which helps keep normal protein in the bloodstream and allows waste and other substances to pass. The second function of the nephron is reabsorption. Extra fluid and other recyclable substances like sodium salt and potassium filtered out of the glomerulus pass through a tiny tubule known as the loop of Henle. Sodium salts are reabsorbed in the loop of Henle. The third function of the nephron is secretion. This occurs in the collecting duct, where potassium is secreted into the excess fluid and waste. How the nephron works. Blood rushes into the Bowman's capsule and is filtered by the glomerulus. As mentioned earlier, the glomerulus keeps the protein in the bloodstream and allows other substances to pass. Excess fluid and substances flows into the loop of Henle. The loop of Henle is a part of the nephron that contains the basic pathway for liquids. The liquid flows through the proximal convoluted tubule, where sodium, water, amino acids, and glucose get reabsorbed. The filtrate then flows down the descending limb and then back up. The loop of Henle is located in the medulla of the kidney. As it approaches the top again, hydrogen ions flow into a tube called the collecting duct. The collecting duct then reabsorbs water and sodium and secretes potassium into the urea.
Thank you, class, for coming on the magical tour of the excretory system.